ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Check this out, we got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and you made it. The weekend's here. The Friday edition, January 9th, the Breakfast Bankroll. Good friend and colleague, Mr. Scotty Webb, live from Tampa. I'm at Cape Cod, 38 degrees. It's actually pretty nice out. Just got my morning routine done. Did some quick stuff behind the scenes and ready to go. As it's Friday, myself and Scott will be back tomorrow. I don't have a time yet. We're going to talk NFL and Wildcard Weekend, so sit tight. We're going to do a recap on the Fiesta Bowl, which never lets us down, especially in the fourth quarter. Instant Classic there. Hats off to Ole Miss. Valiant effort as they come up just a tad short, and congrats to the U of Miami. Shout out to Brian Weber, big U fan. As you get back to the big dance home at the Hard Rock Stadium, January 19th on Monday. So first and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download that app. It is free. And of course, AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Steak, seafood, chops, appetizers, wine. Terry's done it all. Go over to AtlantaSteaksSeafood.com. Place an order today. You could be grilling by Monday. So without further ado, let's bring him in. Mr. Scotty Webb. What's up, champ?
Hey, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am having my coffee and looking at all kinds of stuff, whatever. I'm just thinking about the Pirates, Pittsburgh Pirates. Whatever. It is what it is. It's baseball prep time, so it is what it is.
We got about a half-hour show today. So again, we're going to recap. We've already gone over Oregon, Indiana. You've already talked about who you like and why. We'll go back and just rehash to anyone that hasn't been with us all week. I do want to stick in baseball for 1 second here before we do the recap. Saw something interesting, and a lot of times in baseball, these things start to add up. And really sounds Bregman's coming here, coming back to Boston, under the assumption Bellinger was going to go to New York because they weren't going to spend the money for Tucker. The big question was Bo Bichette. Well, Mattingly leaves, was it Toronto, comes to Philadelphia, and next thing you know, Bo to Philly, he's got a Monday meeting. That makes a lot of sense to me, bringing Bo over there. What was a little surprising, and I know earlier this was the number, Bo, you can ask and want anything you want. I mean, just look at Tariq Skubal. I mean, that's embarrassing, which I know you'll talk about, but we've been down there. We know what those arbitration cases are all about. For 300 million, Bo, I don't think you're going to get it, but if there's a team that will cut a check for 300 million or something close, it's the Philadelphia Phillies, Scott.
Yeah, well, think about the Phillies this way, right? They still where's my stuff at over here? So if I pull up the Phillies for a second, the Phillies still don't have signed their catcher, right? Real Muto is not there right now.
Correct.
That doesn't mean he won't be. I don't have not really heard too many people on him, and then I just saw something as I'm looking at Pirates stuff. I saw something that said, "Hey, look, the pitching staff for the Phillies aren't going to be the same if they don't have Real Muto." So I don't know if I agree with all that, but at the same time, I think that they're going to have Real Muto. I think they're going to have Real Muto at a different price point than what Real Muto thinks he's worth. But whatever, I'm not, I'm not a salary negotiator guy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what they sign for. I just signed for $8 zillion. I don't care. I need to figure out what their xFIP is going to be and what their weighted on base averages and stuff like that. So anyway, point being is, like, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, Philadelphia, the way that they line up right this very second, you got Harper at first, Stott at second, you got Turner at shortstop, Bowman at third base, Martian left, Crawford in center, and Adolis Garcia in right field. A guy like Bo Bichette on that team can give them another Turner type player, and that's exactly what that team needs. That's a bat that will make Bryce Harper and the other guy Schwarber like 100 RBI guys. So I think that if they were to do that, that might compensate a little bit for, say, Wheeler. Right? What's his projection, Wheeler? Where is he? Wheeler, he's projecting to make 21 starts. So that means, May, maybe June. He comes back into May. They're going to need, and who knows what he's going to be like. Now, it's not Tommy John, so it's a different element that he's got. So I think when you start to really think about, what that looks like for them, a guy like Bichette is extremely important, and then a guy like Real Muto, because they ain't got no catchers other than Real Muto. I mean, their backup catcher can pop a home run every once in a while, but he's not a big hitter. But Real Muto is not, the greatest hitter in the world anymore either. So as you get older and your knees break down, trust me, I know that when you get that way, you can't swing the damn bat, let alone, one of the things that Real Muto brought as a catcher was, and remember when he was with the Marlins, he stole bases and stuff, man. He was a running guy. So he's not any of those things anymore, but you got to have a good catcher. I think he's a good catcher. And I think if they bought Bichette in, and I saw what you were talking about, I think that's a great, great move for that team because, I ding on Bichette a lot because, he's kind of like Luis Ariz, gets a lot of slap hit singles and, shit like that, which is great. I mean, you got to get on base. But it doesn't help unless you got the guys behind you, and they got the guys. And think about then you don't have to bat your best home run hitter to lead off. I mean, like stupid stuff that they do. So anyway, point being is I think that would round out that team, and really help them in projection standings at the beginning because Jeff, they're projected behind Atlanta and they're projected behind the Mets. So they're not projected, up there, but that's because Real Muto's not there, and Wheeler's not, going to start from the beginning. So I think as you start looking at what the Phillies bring to the table, they're going to need more, and if they can get a Bichette, and I think that helps them a ton. And I really haven't figured out what the Toronto Blue Jays are going to do either. Like if you look at what the Toronto Blue Jays are doing, if I go back over there real quick, Toronto Blue Jays, and you go, all right, well, we're not going to bring Bichette back, but we got this Akamoto guy who's going to play third base. Okay, well, Akamoto plays third base. The reality becomes is, do you know what their lineup looks like? I mean, if I were to go and where's roster resource? There it is. Blue Jays, bang. So their lineup batting order is George Springer as the leadoff. Now George Springer had a bounce back season last year. He was really good, but George Springer is now 36. I don't. That's a one-off season for him. Don't expect him to be as good as he was last year. And then Addison Barger is their second hitter, and he sort of had a little bit of a breakout towards the end of the year. I don't know if he's going to be any good or not, but he's there. And then Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And I think what people forget about is they do have Anthony Santander, but Anthony Santander was hurt all season. He's 31, so that doesn't mean he can't bounce back from that, but he's 31. And then Kirk, Varsho, Akamoto, they still got Ernie Clement in there, and Andres Jimenez. That's their lineup. This Japanese player better be pretty good because
the super utility guy.
Well, you follow what I'm saying. I mean, everybody wants to tell me how great the Blue Jays are. The Blue Jays are not as good as what they were last year. They're just not. Now, I get it. They got some pitchers. I mean, they can pitch. So, their starting rotation is Gosman, Cease, Bieber, Yasavage, and Cody Ponce that they got from, Korea. Plus, that puts two guys, Eric, whatever his name is. Eric, what's his name? Eric Lauer and Jose Barrios kind of on the sideline and getting ready to pitch. So they got pitchers and they got good relief pitchers now. So I think that can, but so does everybody else in the American League East. Everybody in the American League East has good pitching. Every single team. So I don't know, in my opinion, that puts a lot of oomph on a guy like Addison Barger. That puts a lot of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. You didn't have the most breakout year last year, but at the same time, you didn't have the most breakout year. You were a good player. You need to be an MVP player, or this team's not going anywhere because you got to have more offense. And look, Bo Bichette would fit good on that team just because they need more offense. So if he goes to Philadelphia, I think that really, really, really sets them up great. But I don't know what the greatest. I guess when you really think about it, at third base for them, they could have had I don't know. They've got Davis Schneider listed as another third baseman, and he's just a utility type guy. So I'm not sold on Toronto. I'm just not.
I look at the lineup and I look at the Bargers of the world and some of these other names. And listen, this is better than anyone else here. Baseball's about getting hot at the right time. It's about a team believing. It's all about momentum, and they had that late last year. Obviously, winning the AL and coming within one game of winning the World Series. History usually doesn't repeat itself, especially in baseball, when you run that back. And listen, I like Dylan Cease. I'm not disrespecting Dylan Cease here. I myself would not pay him $30 million per. I would have spent that elsewhere in regards to, I don't put him in that box of chocolates, Scotty. I don't, but I've seen him in the American League. We've seen him with the White Sox. Listen, he fits that mold. He'll get you 9, 10, 11 strikeouts, but he also is that same guy that will go 2 1/3 once in a while and blow up like a rag doll. So again, I'm not disrespect. It was a big splash. I might have pumped the brakes on that move. And you still got Framber out there. You got Suarez out there. And I would have filled a big bat before I would have made that move, Scotty.
Well, the one thing about Cease is he's not going to be their number one, so he'll be their number two. And as a number two, he matches up against
Yeah.
he matches up. Now that said, he's a 5 inning, 6 inning pitcher. He doesn't go deep in games. His arm falls off at 100 pitches, 95 pitches, and then he's done. And I get it. That's that's the way Major League Baseball is today, and I'm all okay with that. As long as you know what the rules are going in. But Cease is one of those guys that I don't think he's a Cy Young candidate kind of pitcher anymore. Cease is only 30 years old, so he's not like 36. Where Gosman's 35. Gosman's going to be their guy again, but he's pitched in the big games and he's matched up against the number ones now for years. When he was with San Francisco and now with Toronto, and so he's been the ace that matched up against everybody else's ace. So he knows how to do those things. The question is going to be a Savage to me. How good is that kid? Is that kid as good as he was in the playoffs, or was that just sort of a flash in the pan kind of thing? I don't know. I mean, he's got a weird motion and stuff, but once you get used to the weird motion and, you've seen him a couple of times, is his stuff really play out? So we'll see what Savage provides. And this Cody Ponce that they got is a big hard thrower. They got him from the Korean League. So we'll see what that looks like. That kid was, I think, I don't remember. I think it was like 22-1 last year or something stupid like that in that league. So we'll see what he looks like as a Major League Baseball player. So we'll see how those things playing out. But my opinion is that everybody wants to tell me about the Toronto Blue Jays, and I get it. The Toronto Blue Jays made it to the World Series last year. Don't be surprised if the Blue Jays finish behind the Orioles. How about that?
Quickly, again, arbitration is there's nothing worse than walking in to an arbitration case and you're the model citizen. You're the perfect child. You were electric. You've done everything asked. Your numbers speak for themselves. Yet there's the team that has every negative thing about you. Obviously, just trying to get the right price. The Skubal thing is really getting ugly now. Was it 19 million they offered, and
19 to 35. That's a big gap.
Yeah, and again, Skubal, I guess a clear line in the sand, a white flag that not only once this case is over, win, lose, or draw, Skubal, I don't even want to say we'll have a chip on his shoulder. I mean, there's 0.0.0 chance he's resigning there. I guess they went all the way back to David Price, and he got 19 million back then, I think, for Detroit. So are we gonna, with 2027, the lockout looming? Is this Detroit's way just to say, hey, we're gonna ride your Skubal as long as we can? Maybe they don't get anything for him, which would be so stupid. Maybe the All-Star break, they're 10 games out, and then they get whatever they can for someone pushing. Thoughts on this and where it's going, and it's not pretty.
Well, I think at this point, salary arbitration is a weird thing, but it's only weird when the numbers are closer. And I mean that in a sense that you got a $19 million a year offer from the Tigers. You got $35 million a year. What Skubal's saying. So if you kind of really think about that, kind of in the midpoints, what, I don't know, 25 million, something like that. So the way this works is one's got to go prove that he's worth less than 25 million, and the other one's got to prove he's worth more than 25 million. And if he can prove he's worth more than 25 million, he gets the number. So it's and what are you going to say about Tariq Skubal, for God's sakes? You're going to say he had to have surgery on his arm, or he got hurt, or this or that, or whatever. I mean, come on. So there's not a whole lot you're going to be able to say against him, and I think the players know what's going on at this point when it comes to where they stand and how the teams feel about them and stuff. But I would say that it would be different for a player that's trying to make, I don't know, $7 million, and the team offered $6 million, and they're fighting over $1 million. That's a little different because of the discovery of that player sitting there going, well, how's come I'm not worth this extra $1 million? And then they come out and tell you. That's a little different. So I think this is all the Skubal thing. I think is all show. You know what I mean? Like, it's all for show. I think what Detroit's doing is saying, I'm not going to be able to pay the guy anyway, so let's lowball the arbitration thing, and let's see where it ends up with on how much I have to pay the guy, and then from that perspective on, maybe I save myself a little bit, and we're going to get rid of him anyhow. Yeah, you made the comment like, well, they need to get something for him. Well, remember, the Angels didn't get nothing for Shohei Ohtani.
I know.
They used him as a, hey, come to our stadium and buy tickets. So maybe they do the same thing with Skubal, but Skubal doesn't play every day. He only pitches every fifth day. So and the Tigers have to be relevant. Now, that said, I think the Tigers will be relevant in their division. I think that manager that they have, AJ Hinch, is one of the best in baseball. I wish they would give him some talent to work with. And they've got talent, don't get me wrong, but I mean, that some stars and some different things there. Riley Green's kind of turning into a great player. Torkelson sort of is, he needs to turn into a Schwarber kind of guy, and they got a lot from their Cubs shortstop last year. So we'll see how they end up coming along and what they do. I don't think that the Tigers are by any way means near, like a World Series contender or none of that stuff. But when you play against the Guardians and you play against the Twins and stuff like that, and the Royals, anything can happen in that division. The Royals need to take off, but at the same time, you say the Royals need to take off. Who are they going to take off with? Pasquatch. He's going to be, the guy that drives that bus. I get it. They got Witt Jr. and all that stuff, but they got an aging catcher that's going to be moved to first base, and that's where Pasquatch plays. And I don't know what they're going to do over there. I will say that it will make a difference with their pitching to get Reagans back. So he should be good to go, and that'll make a difference for that team. So I don't want to shortchange the Royals, but at the same time, I don't want to shortchange the Royals. They don't stack up against anybody else, outside of their own division.
Last night, Fiesta Bowl, Instant Classic, fourth quarter. Fiesta Bowl usually equals points, and the under was looking good for three quarters, and then, of course, 4 lead changes in the fourth quarter. Congratulations to the Hurricanes. Congratulations to everyone that backed them. I saw some of the shambless naysayers sticking their chests out for three quarters. I saw some of the Hurricane fans saying, geez, we had 3 or 4 dropped interceptions. I mean, we should have blown this team away. Guys, when you're playing in high-pressure situations, the semifinals, winner goes to the championship, or you watch any other sport in high-pressure situations, that usually tends to happen. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have had 2, 3, 4 interceptions. My point was, it finally slowed down enough for Chambliss in the fourth quarter, and the same for Beck in that final drive by Beck, surgically marched down the field, and then 2 plays, 40 yards, and here's Ole Miss sitting at the 32 or something, and the guy actually had his hands on that ball on the final play, and he almost would have got the toe tap that close from the Hail Mary of all moments there to get to Hard Rock Stadium. But again, congrats. Thoughts on the Fiesta Bowl, Scott?
The way I saw the game was I don't know if it was different than the way most people see the game. Obviously, I'm on the Miami side because I bet the Miami side. But I'm pretty level-headed about watching all of this stuff. And at halftime, Ole Miss had 75 yards rushing. That's what they had at halftime. And they had, I think it was like 100 yards passing at halftime. And the reality is 73 yards of their rush was one play. Lacey ran down there, and then he stretched his leg out or something, and was out of the game for a little while. So I'm looking at this game and I'm going, look, Miami is just dominating the game. They're just not scoring the points, and that can come back and hurt you. And the other thing that I thought that was going on in that game too, was, and I'm going to say this way, everybody that goes on Twitter and everybody like on our shows and everybody that does different things and goes on and says, well, the goddamn referees cost us this, that, and the other thing. Look, here's what I'm going to say. Miami, they had 10 penalties and were doing stupid crap to hurt themselves. Like you said, they dropped 4 interceptions. They missed a field goal. They had dropped passes, and they still overcame and won the game. So they're not going to. And in my opinion, in watching the game, I don't know if you felt the same way or even really watched the game. I thought the game was all about the line play. So I'm watching a lot of stuff on the offensive defensive lines. I really thought Miami's pass rushers were being held a lot in that game, and they weren't being called. And I'm like, whatever, it isn't my job. I'm not the referee. So I don't care, but they overcame all of those things. And so when I come on here a lot of times and I hear people talk about stuff, I always say, look, the refs don't cost you a game. They don't. You have to figure out how and get around that and how to make things right for your team. And I think they did that. So having said those things, do I think they played a pretty dominant first half. I think that they should have had and maybe kudos to Mississippi for stopping them on drives. When you can drive the ball for 14 plays and 75 yards or however far you go or whatever, 50 yards, 60 yards, and you have to settle for field goals, that's kind of a life-draining type thing. But I kept thinking, okay, well, that means the fourth quarter, they've held the ball for 20 minutes and the other team's had the ball for 5. I think they're going to wear them out. Well, it didn't really quite work out that way because, when we talked about breaking down this game, the one thing that Mississippi always had the ability to do and still had, and you saw it in this game, the big plays. They had the ability to make the big plays to try to keep them in games. And I felt like Miami kept making that mistake, right? Even when they went down there and they scored and then the interception, right? They got that tipped the ball and then Mississippi got the ball at their own 14-yard line. Well, what happened? Well, you had a roughing the passer call. You had a pass interference call that was, on third down and they didn't complete the pass, so they were going to have to punt. And that helped them get all the way down the field and score touchdowns. So then you had, a great quarterback. This Trinidad Chambliss is no joke. So I thought the way the game played out was relatively close to what I thought it was going to be. Yeah, I mean, at the beginning when we talked about this game, I said I thought that it was going to be a little bit over 30 for Miami, and it depends on where you kind of fall in line with how many points does Mississippi get. And AI came and said 24 points, and I'm of the build that, hey, look, 24 points is as many or as most as this Miami team has allowed all season. Well, they gave up 27. So that made it an interesting matchup as the game played out and as things went along. I thought the reason that Miami won is because Miami didn't panic. Is why I think they won the game. Is because very easily in that fourth quarter when they got behind and then went and scored and then they got behind again and had to go do it again, there could have been some panic of, oh my God, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to and force passes or do different things, and they didn't do it. So I thought that was sort of why they won the game, and I guess the way and then when you look at data and you look at stuff, and I don't know if you can kind of see it, but you can kind of see my computer over there, and you can see a lot of little green over there. That's Miami's performance in the game. And all the purple is Mississippi's performance in the game. So data statistically, you can say what you want to about how good Mississippi was, but they got dominated in the game. It just didn't get dominated on the scoreboard. And I don't mean that in any disrespect to anybody. So as a handicapper, when you go bet these games, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a green on your side, purple on the other side. And sometimes that happens and you don't win. So as a gambler, but that's what you're trying to do. Exactly that right there. So as it kind of plays out and as you look at the game and you start to look at stuff, I thought the other big difference in the game, Jeff, was Mississippi couldn't complete a third down. They were like 0 for, I don't know how many third downs it was. They were 0 for on third down, and for the most part, especially at the beginning, first half of the game, Miami was pretty successful on first down and had third and shorts. They were 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3 a lot, and then as the game kind of progressed, that became a little longer. I guess the other thing that surprised me in this game, and I know I'm talking a lot about it now, but I thought the other thing that surprised me in the game was Mississippi had a lot of tackle for losses and Miami didn't. So I thought that was interesting because Mississippi's plan was pretty good on the offensive side of the ball to not play into what Miami was really good at, which is obviously rushing the passer and beating their offensive linemen. And they did a lot of quick stuff. So they didn't have, I think the tackles for loss generated by Miami, 1. Tackles for loss generated by Ole Miss, 10. That's a big difference, and it shows up in stopped drives, and you can't go score, and then you got to kick field goals or try to kick field goals. And luckily for my side, because I'm on the Miami side, I obviously want to cover, but it didn't come down to a kicking battle because that goddamn kicker for Ole Miss, that kid can kick them probably from 60 yards and be good.
Look ahead, January 19th, Monday at Hard Rock. I always want to say Hard Rock Cafe, Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, about 20 minutes from campus. The two look ahead lines: Oregon -2 against Miami, and Indiana -4.5 there. Tonight, Oregon, Indiana opened at 3.5, 47. Right now at the Circa, good morning to Mr. Benson and Mr. Stevens. Indiana 3.5 with a 48.5. I think Oregon goes as far as Dante Moore today. Almost a showcase. Moore versus Mendoza here, a rematch from earlier in the year, where 30-20, the Hoosiers won at Eugene, Oregon. Here, Scotty, quick. We've talked all week about this game. I know where you are in this game, but tell everyone that's just jumping on board your initial thoughts and what you see tonight between Oregon and Indiana in the Peach Bowl.
Well, I think rematches are always one of those things where I don't want to sit there and go, well, the first game doesn't matter, because it does. But at the same time that it does, you get the revenge issues, and you got this, that, and the other. And what I think is really important in a game like a rematch is always when you're an offensive lineman and you're going into a game that you haven't played the team before, you haven't felt that guy on the other side. I mean, he hasn't hit you yet. And this is a game where they have, and both sides, that they've hit each other. So they know what it feels like. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's going to be something new to those guys. So I think that is something that takes away a little bit of the, this is, the shock of, oh my God, I just got blasted by this guy. Well, here's what I think. I think most people underrate Indiana's defense. I think most people underestimate Oregon's defense. I think everybody sits there and goes, these are two great offensive teams. They both score, 40 points a game and stuff like that. So I think that's why you see the number going up on the total. I think this is going to be a defensive battle. I think it's going to be a slugfest. I think if you liked what Miami did, like in the first half, watch what Indiana does. The Indiana is Miami on steroids. So I think you got a team that's very physical. They're smaller than what Miami is, but boy, are they physical. And I think they're well coached. And that puts them in the positions to make the plays and do different things. And I think they run schemes that they need to be tricked to beat them. Or you have to be a better talented player than them. Now, Oregon on the other side, I think, is going to be a lot like on offense anyway. It's going to be a lot like what Mississippi was. They're a big play kind of offense. Can they run the ball? Well, they can run the ball against JMU. They're not going to run the ball against Indiana. So they're going to have to do like what you said. This kid's going to have to be Trinidad Chambliss. He's not. He's younger. He's smaller, and he is more mistake prone than Trinidad Chambliss is. So I think that's where the edges are. I think the edges are just what kind of looks like that. I think you have more consistent, more dominance from Indiana. And I think that you're going to, and I think that Oregon's defense, look, Oregon gave up 0 points to Texas Tech. And I'm not going to tell you that Texas Tech's another team who scored 40 points a game. They couldn't run the ball. They got stopped every time. But this is a different offensive line. This is a whole different deal that they're going to play. The style of play is going to be different. And this is not going to be a free willing, hey, we're gonna throw the ball all over kind of game. We're not, and I think that's a detriment to Oregon, because that's what they want to do. They want to throw the ball all over the place and throw these little, but Indiana can defend that. So I think Indiana's got the edges all the way around in this game. I bet it Indiana minus the 3.5. I also bet it under, and we'll see how that plays out. Now, my total number that I got, and we talked about this yesterday, but my number is way smaller than what the number is today. But my number is under 46. And the number that, I can see it's 48.5, 48.5, and 49 even in some places. So I think as you kind of deal with this and you kind of move it along, I guess my initial impression is don't get sucked up into these things because of what you think you believe. And I think like when we talk about the NFL, there's like the Rams, right? The high flying offense of the Rams and stuff. Don't get sucked up into all that crap about how great they are on offense and stuff, and start betting overs. Because there's a reason why Carolina's there. I get it. The biggest reason is because they don't play in a good division, but at the same time, they were the shortest, the tallest midget, right? They were the best. They were the best team in that division. So there's a reason why they are, and they play decent defense and stuff. 10 points is a lot of points in an NFL game. I didn't bet that game, so when we talk about it tomorrow or whenever, we'll talk about it and talk about why. But the reality is I think you're going to see some unders this weekend.
Myself and Scotty will be back tomorrow. Take a look at our timeline. The first game isn't until 4:30. Rams at Carolina, Green Bay, Chicago at 8. And then Sunday, there's 3 games. And, well, of course, we'll be back for re-entry Monday for Houston and Pittsburgh. Want to thank everyone for blasting us through the week. As always, if you haven't already, head on over to East Coast Sports Investors on YouTube. Subscribe, it's free. We're trying to get closer to 12,000 subscribers there. Then come on back to Twitter. Do us a solid like PB and a few others do. Retweet the show. We got some big things planned for you throughout the year and especially during the baseball season. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Investor, one and only Mr. Scotty Webb at Webby20 MLB. We wish everyone a blessed day. The weekend's here, guys. Enjoy yourselves and stay tuned.